right, forget the Democratic Virginia Governor Ralph Northam. He says he's not going anywhere, and apparently it's not creating as much of a fuss because it's the #2 guy who's in hot water right now, the Lieutenant Governor, Justin Fairfax. The pressure on him to resign, and all of this at a time a Democratic delegate in the state is saying, we think we should impeach the guy. So if you're Governor Northam, you're probably breathing a sigh of relief because the pressure isn't on you. In fact, he told senior staff members that he is inclined to wait this out. But right now, it's the Lieutenant Governor who is saying he is denying the latest unsubstantiated allegation. Now a second accuser who says that he attacked her many years back. All right, the read from Katherine Timpf. We've also got Democratic strategist Antjuan Seawright, former New York Congresswoman Nan Hayworth. Nan, bottom line is, if you're the governor, you're probably relieved, and there isn't such a clarion call for you to go for the time being. Right. But the wagons are circling around the lieutenant governor.
Yeah, Governor Northam, unfortunately for Lieutenant Governor Fairfax, Governor Northam really isn't in much of a position to help him because Northam is also disgraced. A.G. Herring is disgraced by these, obviously, the evidence of insensitivity.
The Attorney General, and he had pictures that go back to 1980.
Exactly, Neil. I mean, but all should call for due process. That's something that, you know, Republicans have been doing for a long time. They're embroiled in a kind of political quicksand, basically, Neil, all these folks. And the Republicans are starting to enter it as well, as we know, because one of their leaders now was an editor of a yearbook that had a lot of awful pictures in it. I think that in the case of Fairfax, I think, you know, he's under a lot of pressure. We all know from Democrats, and now this is a Democrat who's calling for his impeachment. In a Me Too era,
that's one person. Now,
I think he deserves a fair due process, but it's awfully difficult politically.
All right, Antjuan, where is this going? The state, of course, used to be red, then it turned purple. I think it's safe to say it's blue. This is a state that Hillary Clinton won, 13 electoral votes, very important. And I guess the party is concerned, Democrats are concerned, that their lock on that state might not be so secure. What do you think?
I don't think so. I think that at the end of the day, from a policy standpoint, I still think Virginia understands the importance of having Democrats with their hands on the power switch. I don't want people to wrap all three of these issues together, Justin, the governor, and the AG. They're all separate, and they should be dealt with separately. Yes, Northam should resign. Yes, the AG should resign. Yes, Justin deserves due process. However,
wait a minute, you think the AG and the governor should resign? Yeah, I do. That would leave, by the way, the Republican who is in the House of
But I want to be consistent.
I hear you. But you're okay with that?
No.
If it came to
what I'm okay with doing the right thing. The governor there's ways he can handle it without a Republican taking office. But I also want to say...
No, you said you want him to resign.
I do want him to resign.
You said you want the Attorney General to resign.
I do.
I'm sure you're not a fan of what's going on in the Lieutenant Governor, because next in line then would be a Republican.
I get exactly what you're saying. Let me tell you about the Lieutenant Governor situation. I think that part of leadership is being able to be effective. I don't think at this point, even though Justin deserves due process, I just don't think there's confidence or for him to be effective as a leader. So at some point, I think he's going to really have to answer the question. And we have to take sexual assault serious, as I said during the Kavanaugh, during the Kavanaugh scenario, and I said it right here on this show. I didn't attack him on the allegations. I said on his record, the issue in South Carolina, voter suppression that he ruled on, Obamacare, and a few other things. I was at him on that, not on the allegations. I think we have to do due process.
Kat, what do you think?
I think it's been amazing to see what a mess this has all been. This week was like, all right, I see last week's blackface, I raise you more blackface and sexual assault allegations. I mean, how much worse can this really get for Virginia Democrats? I wouldn't be surprised to just see Northam just staying in the position because he, even when things were more difficult, before these other two issues came out, he was still saying, I'm going to stay. Yeah, he was standing firm against calls for him to resign. So now that there's this bit of a distraction with two other people who are kind of in a little bit of hot water, people have been like, oh, that's kind of old news for him now. I don't think he resigns. I think he stays.
That's my point. Like, we can't wrap these three issues together. We have to separate.
It's hard not to, though. It's really hard not to.
I agree. But again, going back to my point about being an effective leader, I just don't think the governor can be effective in his role. We've had everybody and their mother and their sister call his resignation.
Exactly, but he doesn't have to listen.
He doesn't have to listen.
If at the beginning he didn't listen when the pressure was the strongest, I don't see him listening now. He's not going anywhere.
The man is obtuse. It's so clear for so many reasons.
You use a lot of big words.
Yeah. But
they're all in quicksand
But
together.
if he doesn't go, that means we just say okay, whatever, to this idea of blackface and racism, and that's the part as a black male from the South. That's the part that frustrates me.
Well, how do you feel? Let me ask you this: as a African American from the South, and you hear time and again these instances. The case of one Republican that we know of, and at least 3 other Democrats, that there was this commonality, this common theme going years back, and these pictures and everything else. On that level, what do you think?
First of all, I don't think racism is partisan. Let me be clear. It impacts both parties.
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, everybody knows, even back then, blackface was wrong. Look, blackface was used to actually make a mockery of black people. So everybody knows it's wrong. And for the governor to say, and this is what frustrated me.
So when Joy Behar uses it, you're just as offended?
Yeah, look.
Okay.
I'm very consistent, Nia.
You are.
I'm very consistent in what I believe and what I think, and I'll hold to my guns on that. Whether it's a Democrat or Republican, I'm going to call you out. What frustrated me the most about the governor, he said he was painting his face black, emulating Michael Jackson. Well, Michael Jackson, if you knew what Michael Jackson looked like then, he didn't look like blackface.
Yeah, that one didn't really make sense to me. That just seemed to...
I found it more offensive when he volunteered doing the moonwalk.
That was, yeah, I think Virginia GOP is the one I'm thinking about, because they actually, Virginia has its assembly, its House of Delegates elections. All those legislative elections are in 2020. They're coming up.
Well, Republicans have a 1 vote edge in that body.
They're in the majority because of a coin toss.
Or are they?
Remember?
Yes, well, that's just it. So
but I'm wondering if it changes the dynamics for that state. I mean, whether it's so royal, there are voters in Virginia just saying a pox on you Democrats. You've run this place and we don't like it.
It could be. Or people can say this is an isolated situation. We trust what the Democratic Party.
But it's
and
not
isolated. We're talking about the top 3 people.
What I'm saying is an isolated
and there's
incident
more to
with
come.
In this particular incident, these 3 people, not the party as a whole.
There's a lot of yearbooks out there.
It's not a good look.
Well, but you mentioned there are a lot of yearbooks out there. I'm just wondering. Everyone is searching through their yearbook history and everything else. But it's open season now, going way back, right?
It is.
It is open, and that's the danger.
Yeah.
And that is the danger for whether you're Democrat, Republican,
It's funny because I have your yearbook here.
It's going to be like a...
Trust me, you don't have to worry about me doing blackface.
It's going to be like a new full-time job at news organizations. We're going to we're hiring a yearbook checker to go back and check all politicians' yearbooks.
Forgiveness frees the sinner and the sinned against. At some point, we're going to have to come to a national moment.
I think the senator from California, Kamala Harris, got it right when she says no one's perfect.
Right.
And I think we have to be all mindful of that. No one is perfect. We all have some fingerprint on all of our...
Speak for yourself. I avoided this because I was my yearbook editor, so I chose what go in there. Real quickly, Elizabeth Warren later today announcing, how do you feel about her chances?
I think that if she finds her Southern groove and she can get out of the box she's in now with this whole Native American thing, I think there's a potential for her. Okay. But at the end of the day, it all depends on how well she does in South Carolina. Okay.
Real quickly, I want to ask you, Massachusetts, where she will be making her announcement. This is a crowd building here to hear her. At the top of the hour, she's going to make it official. She has all but announced already. But anyway, this is the formal part of it. She'll make it official today, and Senator Klobuchar making it official tomorrow. The field is getting very, very crowded. We're on it. Much more after this. For those who are just tuning in here, we are waiting for the announcement by Elizabeth Warren. She is running, obviously, for President of the United States. She's had to deal with a lot of controversies, including how she's handled this whole Native American issue and how that's going down. We've got Nan Hayworth with us, Antjuan Seawright, and Kat Timpf as we wait for the senator. Kat, she is the latest entrant.
Yes.
She won't be the only one. So where is this race going?
It's not going with Elizabeth Warren winning the nomination. I can promise everybody that. She just has all this baggage attached to her because of this whole Native American thing. If only she had just never pretended that she wasn't white, then she may have had a shot. But this has been something that she's been mocked for continually. This is something that I think she deserves to have been mocked for continually. And when we live in a climate where we talk about things like cultural appropriation all the time, for her to, I mean, she just personifies cultural appropriation. It's not like she once was seen eating a sombrero and a taco, or, you know, eating a taco with a sombrero on. It's like she actually lived her life.
Well, maybe she addresses that, maybe not. I hope, and guys, let me know if Molly Line is ready to go. But in the meantime, Antjuan, it is a crowded field. maybe she does talk about this today, the Native American thing, hope it goes away. But it does drag her, doesn't it?
Well, she should expect to see that certificate on a mail piece at some point in the Democratic primary, particularly if things get tough. And at the end of the day, you know, what voters are looking for, particularly voters of color, the one I talk to, caucus goers and primary goers, they're looking for authenticity, genuineness, and honesty. And in a crowded field, there's something about a separation factor, and this could be her separation factor the wrong way. But I've learned, Neil, not to count any candidate out, because when you count people out, usually they teach you that you don't know how to count.
Right.
So
I can remember, you know, instant front runners who weren't. You know, Hillary Clinton was in 2008 before Barack Obama and countless others. So we're reminded of that all the time, right?
GOP.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah,
Molly Line, one second, guys. Molly Line is there in the middle of this crowd in Lawrence, Massachusetts. Molly, the venue she picked is important, isn't it?
Absolutely it is. This is a historic mill town, long past its prime of being a major textile hub more than a century ago. Really a struggling community, among the poorest in all of Massachusetts. And that'll give her a chance to talk about the things she wants to talk about. Fairness for all Americans, fighting back against corporations, fighting for the middle classes, for the little guy, kind of the mantra that she has taken on throughout the course of her political life. Now, Lawrence has also been in the political crosshairs, heavily criticized by Republican governors to the north and noted by law enforcement and prosecutors as a clearinghouse for illegal drugs pouring into New Hampshire and Maine. Predominantly Hispanic, the city declared itself a sanctuary city in 2015 and sued the Trump administration in 2017 to block an executive order cutting off federal funding to municipalities that didn't cooperate with immigration officials. So in a sense, there may be a greater message here, sort of the backdrop behind where Senator Warren chose to make her announcement today. As you've talked about throughout this morning, she joins a very crowded field out there on the campaign trail. From here, she heads north to New Hampshire, to the first in the nation primary state, before on to Iowa and other important early voting states on a 7-state organizing tour. So she plans to get right out there on the trail and try to talk about these issues that she has continually tried to make the forefront of her campaign. The question is, will she be able to stop explaining, stop apologizing for some of the things you were talking about with the panel just a moment ago, and move on towards campaigning? And are the voters ready to listen to all that? Neil?
Thank you, Molly, very much. We're going back to you shortly. Antjuan Seawright with us here, Democratic strategist. All the candidates like to suck up to Antjuan. But one of the things, Antjuan, I was thinking of is just the proximity she has. Being in Massachusetts, she is going to New Hampshire. That could sometimes help you in terms of the New Hampshire primary. What do you think? It
could, but I live in South Carolina, so Iowa, New Hampshire, and Nevada really doesn't matter, because the battleground, I think the candidates are making it known by their consistency of going to South Carolina. The battleground is in South Carolina.
You've been saying that for a long time, but there are races before South Carolina,
but
right?
Listen, you can...
And California's before it.
No, you can do well in Iowa, lose Nevada, be okay in New Hampshire, but if you lose South Carolina, the demographics in South Carolina are very
it's a pivotal state.
Of the primary going forward. And so that's a battleground. And when I look at her crowd today, and I think about the race at South Carolina and beyond, she's going to have to really find her southern groove and find a way to connect the dot with African-American voters, because that is the heart and soul of the party. And 55% of people who cast their vote in our primary will be women. 60% black, 55% women. Most of those will be black women, with Senator Harris in the race and Senator Booker. And if Biden gets in, that makes the formula a little
Biden is like the 800-pound gorilla in this race.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And the one thing about the 800-pound gorilla cat, he can sit in any chair he wants to.
That's
because he's been likened to that now again and again, and that he's such a big entrant, and of course Barack Obama is vice president. Right. But I've always noticed about him that his two other runs. Good from afar, once in the race, far from good. And I don't mean not to besmirch him, but maybe there's this Goliath reputation given to him that might not, in this day and age, with this party and where it's going, be okay.
Well, I agree with you, Neil. He, especially, again, in an era in which people's past behavior is getting a lot more scrutiny, Vice President Biden has
been a little
handsy, you can say that, but also he said a lot of things that simply didn't turn out to be true. I mean, he's an Irish teller of tales,
right.
And I say that as someone with largely Irish.
But he's likable, though. He is likable.
He's very likable,
right? But he's full of blarney, and unfortunately for him, the moment to join the race, he may have like a John Kasich kind of thing. John Kasich.
Well, he wouldn't be the
Kasich
first
thought he could
politician
amble in
to
and say,
exaggerate
"I'm the savior."
things,
no,
right?
for sure not.
Mm.
But I think
yeah.
he's going to be too late. I think he's going to come into it too late. And I agree with Antjuan. I think Kamala Harris, Senator Harris, has California and South Carolina advantages. She's got the early money. She's got early enthusiasm. She's very attractive. Elizabeth Warren is a scold. And I think that's another part of her
She went on
problem.
Instagram Live and drank that beer. I'm surprised that didn't.
Yeah, I know.
What did you think of that, Antjuan?
That reminded me of Hillary Clinton doing the exact same thing.
Well, she's the same demographic.
Trying to be likable, trying to be like, look, you drink beer, I drink beer too. And but it was just like
another name mentioned though is like
awkward to
Beto
watch.
O'Rourke, that he seems that Oprah Winfrey seems to have all but encouraged him to run, that he's another high flyer. What do you think?
Well, I think it's all about organization at this point.
Yeah.
And when you look at who does the organization and consultants, most of the campaigns between Buck and Harris have snatched up many of the top consultants in our party. So it's how quick can you put together an organization? Sustainability is going to be so important, and the relationships. Because you're not coming to South Carolina without deep relationships to get into certain communities. Our state is a high-tech, high-touch kind of state. And the high-touch part comes with relationships and opening up doors so that you can have a platform to present your thoughts and ideas. And so it gets complicated the later you wait. And my advice to Vice President Biden, I know his staff is watching right now, don't wait too late.
Are they really? I feel flattered.
Don't wait too late. Do not wait too late, because there's a sense of urgency, and what people want is someone who can win the nomination and carry
No,
the
I think
ticket.
you're right about that. And but what you said about don't dither around about getting in. I think they all feel that it's going to be a crowded field, but their chance is just as good as anyone else's. We raised this, by the way, with Congressman Ryan of Ohio. Remember, he challenged Nancy Pelosi for the speakership some years back. He too teasing with a presidential run, and he just stumbled into it with us early this week. Take a look. Would you consider running for president? Your name's been bandied about.
Yes, I will, and I have, and I am, and I'm having conversations
Wait a minute,
right now.
You are definitely going to run for president.
No, I didn't say that. I am considering. That was good, though. Neil, you're good at this. You're good at this.
Crowded field doesn't dissuade you, right? It doesn't dissuade you at all.
No. And I think the more ideas we have out there, the better. And the one.
You know what they're all figuring out, Kat, is that it's fair game for everybody, and I might as well go in. But they're so confident that Donald Trump is defeatable. That such a word. That's what they're basing it on. I had the shot. I can go for this. I know what Antjuan's saying about having an organization in place and good people in place and raising funds and all that. But they figure if I can get past just the rough start of this, maybe I can do it.
Right. Well, I think that Democrats are going to tear themselves apart a little bit in the primary, because there are a lot of different views represented so far. Even we have.
But so did
Elizabeth,
Republicans, right?
Exactly.
They tore themselves apart.
It's a scrimmage, right? It's a political scrimmage, Kat.
Right, but it's very. If you look at someone like Senator Warren, very, very different from Cory Booker in terms of their beliefs. I mean, Cory Booker is actually pretty moderate for a Democrat. He's a pro-business kind of guy. And then Elizabeth Warren, not so much. Those are very, very different candidates.
And they've all got the Virginia tar baby to deal with.
Yes.
Because Virginia's a major state for Democrats. But it's like, how do they handle that, right? How do they handle
I wonder, too, when we look at Elizabeth Warren, I mean, she is positioning herself as this champion for the consumer, too. If you think about it, her career really was propelled on this Consumer Financial Protection Board. That all started with her.
And she hurt community.
But Neil, here's the thing about the primary and talking about issues. Quality of life issues are going to run the day for our primary. And while that may be popular for her as a Senate, when she travels further south to God's country, the issues are a little different. We want to know about wages. We want to know about health care. We want to know about education. We want to know about protecting our right to vote. And the one thing about the African-American community is that we want to see a track record. You can't come in.
But what would bring out the passion in that community? I mean, they were not in nearly the numbers. I'm talking about the African-American community as they were for Barack Obama with Hillary Clinton, and it might have cost her the election. How do you regenerate that compassion? What do they do?
I think you have to give people a reason to vote for something to get excited about.
Who's the closest to doing that right now?
South Carolina is.
No. Well, you got to give this South Carolina, right? But I mean, of the candidates you've heard thus far, and those announced versus unannounced.
I really think it's a mixed bag at this point.
Yeah.
But Neil, here's my biggest fear as a Democrat, and I'm happy to say this to you on the Republican-leaning network.
I would be careful with that terminology here on this show, but go ahead.
I fear that if we don't come together whenever we have a nominee and a VP, I fear if we're not united on all fronts, the
Because
very
that happened in
things about
2016. There was a lot of Bernie bros who were still pretty upset about the way things went down, and they would not get behind Hillary Clinton.
We would not only failed our party, we would have failed the entire ticket, because not just the president would be on the ticket.
If you're looking on the policy basis, Biden has an advantage. Biden was there with Obama for all that policy.
Well, that doesn't necessarily. He's not on the ticket. It doesn't.
No, I agree with you, but.
Okay. We are watching this event in Massachusetts. Now, Elizabeth Warren, the latest to announce she's running for president, what will be a very crowded field. It could double the size it presently is at about 9 or 10, I believe. Expected to get bigger. What Democratic Congressman Emanuel Cleaver wants to hear out of all those presidential entrants, and regardless of politics, what are you going to do to bring the country together? Of course, he's a minister by training and a politician by just an offset. After this. Back with me, Fox News contributor Katherine Timpf. We got Democratic strategist Antjuan Seawright, former New York Congresswoman Nan Hayworth. Antjuan, as the Democratic strategist here, what are the odds that Elizabeth Warren advances significantly in this field?
She has staying power because she has a constituency and she has a strong following under this big tent we have called the Democratic Party. So I'm not one of those people who's going to count her out. And the fact of the matter is that women will play a major role in electing our nominee, and she has a strong following. The trick for her is there's multiple women running. There's 2 African Americans at least, 1 Latino, so she's got to find her niche within the party, and I think messaging is going to be a key for her, and she has to be herself. If I can give her any advice, be yourself. Do not try.
See, I don't know who that self is.
Yeah, who knows?
Well, that was my next point. Be yourself. Be who you are and who the people of Massachusetts elected you to be, and because of that, you've gained a national attraction, a national following around the country. And if she does that, I think she's positioned to be in the game for a long time.
What do you think, man?
I just don't think she's terribly attractive, as I mentioned before. Her personality is that of the scold, and the fact that she is a scold, I think, makes the claims surrounding her Native American status or lack thereof, and the way in which she handled it over the course of her lifetime, I think that makes them problematic, because she has asserted that she didn't try to use that to
I have no
herself,
problem with the Native American thing as much as her giving inconsistent stories on it.
Exactly,
right?
Neil.
Right.
Characterologically, it's a weakness, and she's someone who has made her political capital on assailing people for their failings, assailing industries for their failings. I mean, aside from the fact that I completely disagree with her philosophy of government,
right.
And when I was on the House Financial Services Committee, I saw how the policies that she promoted actually hurt community banks, hurt communities like this one. You know, she didn't help the little people. She helped the big banks.
Well, that's in the eye of the beholder. Now, one thing I will say, I will say this: she's a brilliant one, and she knows financial matters inside and out. She
has a following.
Well,
she does, but everybody who's in the race has a following, right? Everyone has a following. They have different followings.
But I guess what I'm saying is that she should embrace what she is, and that's if you're going to be the numbers nerd, embrace who you are, embrace the fact that you are a wonk about this stuff, and you care passionately about it.
Right. I see her already making some of the same mistakes that Hillary Clinton made, like I mentioned earlier with the whole drinking the beer on Instagram Live, trying to be cool.
Oh, like you haven't done that.
You know what? I've eaten soup on Instagram Live before, but I've never drank a beer on Instagram Live before because, you know, gotta keep it PG, and that's fine.
Keep it
but
real.
I feel like she does have a likability problem because she is so wonky, and so I'm sure someone told her to try to appear more human.
I just wonder what makes likability. You know what I mean? Like, how do you determine that? It's just sort of like
you either got it or you don't.
It's swag, Neil. You either got it or you don't. You have swag.
Oh, there we go. No, but you know what I'm saying? Like, even Democrats grudgingly admitted Ronald Reagan was likable. The Republicans grudgingly admitted John Kennedy and Barack Obama later on were likable. And What defines likability?
Here's the problem with likability of being likable. Everyone wants to emulate it. And I said this in a Washington Post political article yesterday. Barack Obama 2.0 is not coming. Joe Biden 2.0 is not coming. Everyone should be themselves and stop trying to emulate.
But Joe Biden is a likable guy, right? Is he a winnable guy? How far will that likability get you?
I think that I take him pretty far. I think that Joe Biden is actually a decent contender. Absolutely.
Well, I definitely think it gets him in the room. Now, it's up to him with his messaging and his campaign to work the room to win over voters. But his likability definitely gets him in the room.
Well, likability means I want to spend time. It was the old test.
I would hang out with Joe Biden.
I would hang out with him.
I would hang out with Joe Biden.
As if you can ever hang out.
I have a beer with them, exactly.
As if you can ever hang out with the President of the United States.
No one to have a beer with Elizabeth.
All right.
Oh,
now, finally, she's coming to the stage. 48 people have introduced her. I'm not exaggerating here, but Elizabeth Warren making it official today. She is the senator who thinks that she can use her Massachusetts proximity to help her in New Hampshire. She has a lot of powerful backers still. All the controversy over the Native American thing and his name was raising, maybe the likability thing. That is in the eye of the beholder. But Elizabeth Warren, who has championed consumer protection, a consumer protection financial board that even earned her the wrath of the Obama administration at the time, was going to try to say, I am a feisty independent, a prisoner to no party. I'm for you, the people. She is addressing the people now, and quite a crowd in Massachusetts. Elizabeth Warren.
Good morning, Lawrence.